Hello everyone. This is Six Path Weeb, and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. If you're someone who enjoys deep storytelling, alternate timelines, and imaginative twists on your favorite anime worlds, then you're in the right place. Here, we explore unique fanfiction concepts that push beyond the boundaries of the original story, diving into what-if scenarios that reshape destinies, redefine characters, and uncover possibilities you may have never considered before. Every story on this channel is crafted with passion, creativity, and a deep appreciation for the anime universe we all love. Today's fanfic topic is: what if Naruko was born again with full memory of her past life? Imagine a world where memories are not lost to time. Where experience, pain, growth, and knowledge carry forward into a new life. How would that change decisions? Relationships? Power? And ultimately, fate itself? Before we begin, here's a quick disclaimer. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is created purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any of the anime footage, characters, or original concepts used in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, sit back, relax, and let your imagination take over as we step into a new version of reality. Let's begin. Naruto's POV, Naruko. My name is Naruko Uzumaki. I am 16 years old, still a Jonin, and yet here I stand, facing the person who changed everything in the village I love. The air feels heavy, and my heart beats loudly in my chest, but I refuse to step back. I have come a long way to reach this moment. Not long ago, I trained far from home with my teacher, Jiraiya. When she first told me we would be leaving for a long time, I was thrilled. I imagined learning dazzling techniques and powerful moves right away. But instead, my training began with the basics: strength, balance, focus, and control. At first, I didn't understand. I wanted to learn the exciting things immediately. But Jiraiya was patient with me. She explained that a strong foundation would help me grow into a stronger ninja, someone who could protect others, no matter what challenges came her way. So I trained every single day. I ran across fields at sunrise, practiced until my muscles trembled, and learned to control my chakra with care and precision. Slowly, I began to notice the difference. I moved faster. I thought more clearly. I grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit too. Over time, I discovered my natural abilities. Wind, lightning, and water responded to me, like old friends waiting to be understood. I practiced them as much as I could, learning how each one felt and flowed. Though I couldn't master everything at once, I worked hard and even created a few techniques of my own. Jiraiya told me something important before we returned home: not to show everything I could do. Strength isn't just about power, she said. It's also about knowing when to hold back. I didn't like hiding my abilities, but I trusted her. During our journey, we visited the desert village of Suna. That was where I reunited with Gaara. He had changed so much since the last time I saw him. He was calmer, kinder, and carried himself with quiet strength. I was proud of him. I also spent time with his sister, Tamari. She was confident and sharp-minded, always speaking honestly. I admired that about her. She carried herself with grace and courage, never letting others decide her worth. Talking with her made me realize how much I had grown too. I wasn't the same girl who left the village. I had learned to see the world differently. I understood people better, their struggles, their hopes, and their fears. And most importantly, I understood what it meant to protect something precious. Now, standing here, I take a deep breath. I may still be a Jonin. I may not have all the answers. But I know this much for sure. I am Naruko Uzumaki. And I will never give up on the people I care about. It wasn't something that happened by accident, and it wasn't because of a silly whim. It happened because Naruko cared deeply, and over time, someone else came to care about her too. When Naruko was 14, she traveled to the warm and sandy village of Suna with her mentor. While he spent most of his time gathering information, Naruko explored the village, trained, and slowly got to know its people. Among them was Tamari, who was strong, confident, and kind in a way that made Naruko feel at ease. During the second week of her stay, Tamari told Naruko something that made her heart race. She said she liked her, more than just a friend. Naruko was surprised. She had never thought someone like Tamari would see her that way. But Tamari explained that she admired Naruko's courage and her determination to help others. To Tamari, Naruko was someone who brought light wherever she went. Naruko tried to brush it off, saying she wasn't anything special, but Tamari simply smiled and told her that she saw things differently. From that moment on, they spent more time together, talking, laughing, and sharing quiet moments under the wide desert sky. They spoke about their dreams, their responsibilities, and the paths they had chosen as shinobi. Naruko admitted that living in different villages might make things difficult, but Tamari reminded her that even strong winds could travel far and still remain connected to where they began. So they made a simple promise: they would cherish the time they had, and trust that their bond would remain strong no matter the distance. When Naruko finally left Suna, she carried those memories with her like a warm light inside her heart. Later, when Tamari visited Konoha, the two met again. Though they had to act like old acquaintances in front of others, they found quiet moments to talk and reconnect. Each meeting reminded Naruko just how much Tamari meant to her. They wrote letters, sent messages through trusted summons, and held on to their promise. Even when they were far apart, Naruko felt stronger knowing someone out there believed in her. Now, standing at a crossroads in her journey, Naruko took a deep breath. She thought about everything she had learned, about friendship, honesty, and the courage to be herself. For a long time, she had hidden parts of her true abilities, worried about what others might think or what dangers it could bring. But she had also grown wiser, stronger, and more thoughtful. She remembered her training, the feeling of connecting with the world around her, and the lessons from her mentors. All of it had shaped her into who she was becoming. Naruko lifted her head, her eyes clear and determined. If she wanted a future filled with peace, friendship, and the chance to see Tamari again, she knew what she had to do. She would stop hiding. She would be true to herself. And she would move forward, not alone, but with the strength of everyone who believed in her lighting the way. Hinokuni. A mile away from Kanahagakure no Sato. Secluded cave. The cave was quiet, filled with the soft echo of dripping water. Naruko stood calmly, her bright eyes steady and thoughtful as she listened. Just by living, people sometimes hurt others without realizing it, Nagato said gently, his voice heavy with memories. As long as people live, misunderstandings and sadness will exist. Peace can feel very far away. Naruko didn't interrupt. She let his words settle, holding them with care rather than judgment. Nagato spoke about his childhood, how he and his dear friends Konan and Yahiko once struggled together as orphans, how they learned and grew under a kind teacher, and how life led them down difficult paths. His story was not told with anger, but with a quiet sadness, like someone remembering a storm that had long since passed. Many people talk about peace, Nagato continued, but sometimes they forget how important it is to truly understand one another. I once wondered, is there a better way? Naruko lowered her gaze for a moment, thinking deeply. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a worn book. Its pages were soft from being read many times. I think there is, she said softly. Nagato looked at her in surprise. You do? Naruko nodded. I understand what you're saying. I really do. And even if things seem difficult, I still believe people can learn to understand each other. She held the book close. Someone I care about believed that too. So I will keep believing it. Konan watched quietly, her expression softening. There was something steady and warm in Naruko's voice, something that didn't waver. You still believe? Nagato asked, almost in disbelief. Naruko smiled gently. Yes. I won't give up. Even if it takes time, I'll keep trying. I'll listen, I'll learn, and I'll help others do the same. That's how peace can begin, one person at a time. Nagato was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, his expression changed. The weight he carried seemed just a little lighter. Those words, he murmured. They remind me of something I once believed, too. Naruko looked up, her eyes bright. Then maybe it's not gone. Maybe it's still there. Konan glanced between them, a small smile forming. Nagato gave a quiet breath. Naruko. You're determined in a way that's rare. You remind me of hope. Naruko blinked, surprised. Hope? Yes, he said. A future where people truly try to understand each other. I think I can believe in that again. I think I can believe in you. Naruko's smile grew, warm and genuine. Thank you. I'll do my best. The cave, once heavy with old memories, now felt a little brighter. Not because everything had changed, but because someone had chosen to believe it could. And sometimes, that is where all good things begin. Naruko listened carefully as Nagato finished speaking. His voice was gentle, like someone sharing an important story rather than giving a burden. She held the beautiful sword in her hands, its cool surface almost humming with quiet life. For a moment, she forgot everything else, the worries, the questions, and simply admired it. It's amazing, Naruko said softly, her eyes shining with wonder. Konan watched her with a small, thoughtful smile. There was still sadness in her eyes, but there was something else now too, hope. Nagato gave a slow nod. Naruko, what you choose today is not just about power. It is about how you will use it. You already have a kind heart. That is what matters most. Naruko looked down at her reflection in the polished blade. She didn't see someone perfect. She saw someone who had made mistakes, who still had much to learn, but also someone who cared deeply about her friends and her village. She took a deep breath. I'll do my best, she said. Not because of the power. But because I want to protect everyone and help people smile. Konan's expression softened. That's a beautiful reason, she said quietly. A gentle breeze passed through the room, carrying a calm stillness with it. Instead of fear, Naruko felt a strange sense of peace. She carefully placed the sword beside her, trusting it would remain by her side. When Katsuyu spoke, Naruko smiled warmly at her. Please tell everyone I'll be okay, she said. And that I'll come back soon. Katsuyu studied her for a moment, then gave a small nod. I will. Naruko lay down as Konan carefully prepared everything. The room was quiet, not tense, but focused, like the moments before the start of an important journey. Just rest, Konan said gently. Naruko closed her eyes. She thought of her friends, their laughter, their encouragement, the way they believed in her even when she doubted herself. I'll come back stronger, she whispered. For all of you. As she drifted into a soft sleep, something curious happened. Inside her mind, she found herself standing in a wide, open space filled with shimmering light. It felt peaceful, like a dream where nothing could go wrong. In front of her, the sword appeared again, but now it seemed brighter, almost alive. A quiet voice echoed, not loud, but clear. Welcome, Naruko. She blinked in surprise. Are you? The sword? I am, the voice replied kindly. You may call me Hyrinmaru. Naruko tilted her head, smiling slightly. That is your name then. There was a gentle warmth in the air, as if the sword itself was pleased. You did not reach for power out of pride, Hyrinmaru said. You chose it to protect others. That is why I will walk beside you. Naruko's smile grew. Then let's become strong together, she said. Outside, Konan worked carefully, her movements precise and calm. Nagato watched quietly, his expression peaceful. There was no fear in the room, only trust. Time seemed to pass quickly. Soon, Naruko stirred, her breathing steady and calm. A soft glow seemed to linger around her, as if something within her had gently awakened. Konan finished tending to her and stepped back. She'll be all right, she said. Nagato nodded, his voice quiet but certain. More than all right. When Naruko finally opened her eyes, she didn't feel overwhelmed. Instead, she felt balanced. Like everything inside her had found a new harmony. She sat up slowly, blinking in the light. Did it work? She asked. Konan smiled softly. Yes. But remember, Naruko, what makes you special was never just power. Naruko looked at her hands, then gave a bright, confident grin. I know, she said. It's how I use it. She reached for her sword, holding it with care. Let's go home, she added. And with that, Naruko stood, not as someone changed by power alone, but as someone who had grown stronger in heart. A girl ready to learn, to protect, and to bring light wherever she went. Her journey was only just beginning. High above the quiet hills beyond the village, a gentle wind moved through the trees as everything began to change. Nagato looked down at his companion with soft, tired eyes. His voice was calm, yet filled with purpose. After everything I've done, this is how I can make things right, he said. I will give Naruko the strength to protect the future. And the hope to build a peaceful world. Konan listened closely, her hands folded as she stood beside him. She will help create a new era, Nagato continued. Please. Take her back to the village when this is over. She will need rest. The knowledge within these eyes will take time to settle. Konan nodded gently. And what about the dangers that may come? Nagato closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them with quiet resolve. Do not worry about that. Protect Naruko. She carries something far more important now. A chance for peace. I understand, Konan replied softly. Nagato formed a careful hand sign, and a warm, glowing energy spread outward like sunlight at dawn. Kanahagakure village. Back in the village, People moved quietly, helping one another and gathering together. The air felt heavy with worry, until suddenly, a great cloud of soft white mist appeared in the center of the village. When it cleared, a gentle, glowing presence stood there, radiating warmth. "What's happening?" Ino whispered, holding her breath. "Did Naruko fail?" Shikamaru wondered, his voice uneasy. "No," Shino said calmly. "Look closely." From the glowing figure, soft strands of green light flowed outward like vines. Each one touched someone lying nearby, and slowly, miraculously, warmth returned to them. "There." Waking up, Inoiki said in amazement. Sakura held her friend's hand, tears forming in her eyes, but this time, they were tears of relief. "She did it," she said with a smile. Naruko reached his heart. She showed him kindness. And he chose to do the same. Hope returned to the village like the first sunrise after a long night. A quiet cave outside the village. Not far away, in a peaceful cave hidden among the rocks, Naruko lay resting. Konan gently knelt beside her, brushing back her golden hair. Her expression was both sad and proud. "You've been given a great gift," she whispered. "I hope it brings you strength." A soft glow surrounded Naruko as the power within her slowly settled. Moments later, Naruko stirred. Her eyes remained covered, but her face tightened slightly as she felt something new, like pages of 1,000 stories gently turning in her mind. It wasn't pain, just a deep, overwhelming feeling of learning and understanding all at once. "So much," she murmured quietly. "I can feel it. So many things I didn't know before." Konan smiled gently. "That's the gift Nagato left you. It will take time, but you'll understand it all." Naruko placed a hand over her heart. "He helped everyone, didn't he?" "Yes," Konan said softly. "He chose kindness in the end." Naruko was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "I won't waste what he gave me. I'll use it to help people. And to protect everyone I care about." Her voice was gentle, but full of determination. Konan's eyes shimmered slightly. She leaned forward, resting her forehead lightly against Naruko's shoulder. "You remind me. That hope is never truly lost." Naruko smiled faintly, even as she felt sleep beginning to pull her back into rest. "Thank you for helping me," she whispered. As Naruko drifted into a peaceful sleep, the cave grew quiet again. Outside, the wind carried the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And somewhere in the distance, the village waited, ready to welcome home the girl who carried a dream of peace in her heart. Kanahagakure Forest, 5 minutes later. The quiet forest of Naruko Uzumaki's home village felt different now, gentler, almost as if it were taking a deep breath after a long day. Naruko walked slowly along the path, leaning on Konan for support. Konan kept one arm wrapped carefully around her, while Naruko's arm rested over Konan's shoulder. Each step took effort, and every so often Naruko paused, pressing a hand lightly to her head as she adjusted to everything she had just experienced. Konan watched her with concern but kept her voice soft and steady. "How do you feel?" she asked kindly. Naruko opened her eyes just a little. Everything looked muted, like a soft charcoal drawing, shades of black, white, and gray blending together. Even so, she managed a small smile. "Better. I think," she said gently, her voice quiet but brave. Perched on her shoulder, Katsuyu spoke in her calm, soothing tone. "We're almost there, Naruko. Just a little farther." Naruko nodded carefully. Even though she felt different, stronger in some ways, calmer in others, she focused on something simple, taking one step at a time. As they reached the village gates, Naruko noticed something unexpected. People. So many people. Villagers, ninja, and even small animals gathered together, all waiting. The moment she stepped through the gate, voices rose around her, not loud or overwhelming, but warm and full of kindness. "Welcome home, Naruko. We're so glad you're safe." "Thank you." Naruko blinked in surprise. Her eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of relief and happiness. For so long, she had dreamed of being seen and accepted. And now, here it was. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling it beat steadily. Before she could say anything, a familiar voice called out. "Naruko." She looked up to see Sakura hurrying toward her, her expression full of worry and relief. Sakura gently placed her hand near Naruko's face, her eyes shining. "I'm so glad you're okay," Sakura said softly. "Everyone is safe. Thanks to you." Naruko smiled, her expression warm and reassuring. "I didn't do it alone," she replied. "Everyone helped in their own way." Sakura nodded, though her eyes were still a little watery. "Come on," she said gently. "You need rest. I've prepared a place for you." Naruko let out a small, peaceful sigh. The tiredness she felt now wasn't heavy, it was the kind that comes after doing something important. "All right," she said softly. With Konan supporting her and Sakura guiding the way, Naruko walked forward, into her village, into her home, and into a future filled with hope. And for the first time in a long while, everything felt just right. Kanahagakure no Sato. Naruko's medical tent. 2 days later. Kakashi Hatake, a respected jonin of the Hidden Leaf Village and a former student of the 4th Hokage, stood quietly at the entrance of Naruko's medical tent. The soft rustle of cloth swayed gently in the breeze, and warm sunlight filtered through the fabric, casting a peaceful glow inside. He watched over Naruko, his student, with calm and thoughtful eyes. Naruko lay resting on a simple bed, her golden hair spread softly across the pillow. Faint streaks of red shimmered through her hair, like the colors of a sunset blending into the sky. Bandages were carefully wrapped around her eyes, not out of fear, but out of caution. Those caring for her wanted to make sure she healed comfortably and safely. Kakashi had woken just the day before and learned everything from Sakura and Konan. He had listened closely, taking in each detail with patience. Konan, who had once been an enemy, now stood as a quiet guardian for Naruko. Her loyalty had surprised many, but Kakashi understood. Naruko had a special way of bringing people together. They explained how Naruko had been given a powerful gift, something ancient and full of wisdom. It was not just power, it was knowledge, understanding, and a deep connection to the world around her. The experience had been overwhelming for her, like learning many stories all at once. Her body and spirit had worked together to accept it, and though it had been difficult, she had shown great strength. Even while resting, Naruko was healing quickly. Her energy flowed gently, like a calm river finding its path. Everyone believed that when she awoke, she would understand this new gift in her own way, just as she always did, with kindness and determination. Kakashi stepped a little closer, resting his hand lightly against one of the tent poles. Outside, the village was slowly rebuilding. People worked together, helping one another with hopeful hearts. Though things were not yet perfect, there was a sense of warmth returning to Kanahagakure. He thought of Lady Tsunade, who had used all her strength to protect the village. She now rested peacefully, and everyone hoped she would wake soon. Until then, the village waited patiently, trusting that things would fall into place. Kakashi looked back at Naruko, and a quiet smile formed beneath his mask. She had already done so much. She had brought hope where there had once been worry, and she had shown courage in ways that inspired everyone around her. But to Kakashi, she was still the same spirited girl who never gave up, who believed in her dreams, and who always cared deeply for her friends. She's grown, he thought softly. But she's still Naruko. Nearby, Konan stood watch, her presence calm and steady. She said nothing, but her quiet care spoke volumes. In the gentle stillness of the tent, it felt as though time itself had slowed, allowing everyone a moment to rest. Kakashi knew that when Naruko awoke, a new chapter would begin, not just for her, but for the entire village. And whatever came next, he was certain of one thing. Naruko would face it with a bright heart, a strong spirit, and a smile that could light even the cloudiest day. For Naruko's sake, the man had kept quiet. He might have had a playful and teasing side, but he would never embarrass her or make fun of her feelings, especially not about something as gentle and meaningful as her growing affection for Temari. From what Kakashi had been told by the former Sannin, Naruko had grown into a strong and thoughtful young woman long ago. Remembering that, both mentors couldn't help but feel a quiet pride. Kakashi understood why Naruko kept parts of her life private, though he sometimes wished he could talk with her more about these personal moments, like someone might with a daughter or a beloved student. Still, he chose to focus not on what he had missed, but on what still lay ahead. No matter how powerful she became, he hoped she would always keep a place for him in her life. As he sat nearby, Kakashi reflected on how much Naruko had influenced others around her. Sakura had grown from uncertainty into a confident and skilled kunoichi. Sai, once distant, had become loyal and kind in ways few expected. Hinata had found new courage within herself, her voice steadier now. Even Neji had changed long ago, learning new ways to see the world. Kiba had softened his rough edges, Ino had pushed herself to learn more, and Shikamaru worked harder than before. Each of them, in their own way, had been inspired by Naruko's determination and bright spirit. Kakashi's thoughts were interrupted by a soft groan. Looking down, he saw Naruko Uzumaki slowly stirring awake. She lifted a hand, gently touching the bandages around her face as if making sure everything was still in place. With care, she sat up and looked at her hands, flexing her fingers thoughtfully. "How long have I been asleep, Kakashi-sensei?" she asked quietly, her voice calm. Kakashi blinked in surprise. "You can see me?" Naruko shook her head softly. "No. But I can sense you." She carefully swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood, wobbling just a little before steadying herself. "Whoa. I feel different," she murmured, examining her arms with curiosity. "You've been resting for 2 days, Kakashi replied gently. "Less time than expected." 2 days. Naruko repeated, then turned slightly. "Konan. Is she still here?" "Yes," Kakashi said with a small smile. "It seems you've made a new ally." Naruko nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Good. I want her to stay close." "You don't trust her?" Kakashi asked. "I do," Naruko answered firmly. "I trust her completely. But I've learned many things. I need time to understand it all, and to make sure everyone stays safe." She stepped in front of a small mirror, slowly unwrapping the bandages. When they fell away, her bright blue eyes reflected back at her, steady and clear. She studied her reflection with quiet curiosity. Her hair, now longer with soft red highlights, framed her face. She looked older, stronger, yet still carried the warmth that made her who she was. After a moment, she turned back to Kakashi. "What happened while I was asleep?" she asked, a hint of worry in her voice. Kakashi's expression softened. "It's about Tsunade." Naruko's heart tightened. "What about her?" "She used all her strength to protect the village," he explained. "She gave everything she had to keep everyone safe. Now she's resting deeply." Naruko lowered her gaze, her hands tightening slightly at her sides. "She always puts others first," she whispered. Though sadness touched her voice, there was also admiration. "I'll visit her soon." Kakashi nodded. "She would like that." After a brief pause, he continued, "There's something else. The leaders of the great nations are planning a meeting. It's important, and it may shape what happens next for everyone." Naruko listened carefully, her expression steady once more. Though much had changed, one thing remained the same, her determination to protect others and bring people together. And as she stood there, sunlight beginning to filter softly into the room, it felt like a new chapter was just beginning. "I see," Naruko said softly, giving a thoughtful nod. She took a slow breath, letting everything sink in. "But we don't have a Hokage right now, do we?" "That's correct," her teacher replied calmly. "Which brings us to something important. Since there is no Hokage, the daimyo has requested a meeting to decide who will succeed Lady Tsunade." Naruko opened her mouth to respond, but he gently raised a hand. "I know you have questions," he continued kindly, "and under normal circumstances, we would wait. But the village needs guidance. The daimyo has asked that the meeting take place once you've recovered. It will include you, the daimyo, and the Council of Konoha." "Me?" Naruko asked, blinking in surprise. "Yes," he said with a small smile. "It seems the daimyo knows more about you than we expected, your journey, your growth, and the way you've helped protect everyone. Whether it's because people see you as a symbol of hope, or because of your strength, I can't say for sure. But your presence matters." Naruko grew quiet, thinking carefully. She didn't see herself as the strongest, but she knew she had grown, stronger in skill, and also in heart. "When will the meeting be?" she asked gently. "I'll inform the daimyo that you're awake," her teacher replied. "For now, you should stretch your legs and go see Lady Tsunade. She's resting in her tent nearby. Sakura, Ino, and Shizune have been looking after her." He paused at the entrance, then added warmly, "Naruko. I think Jiraiya would be very proud of you." Naruko smiled, her eyes shining with quiet determination, and nodded as he stepped outside. For a moment, she stood still, then turned to look at her reflection. She studied herself, not just how she looked, but who she had become. There was a calm confidence in her now, something deeper than before. She hoped her friends would notice the change, not just on the outside, but within her spirit. Her thoughts drifted. Lady Tsunade was resting, the village was uncertain, and an important decision lay ahead. Naruko knew one thing for sure, she wanted to help protect the village in the best way she could, no matter what role she was given. Her gaze shifted to the side, where a beautiful sword rested near her bed. She walked over and gently picked it up, holding it with care. It felt special, like it carried a story of its own. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to listen, to to understand it better. But the sword remained quiet. "That's all right," she whispered softly. "We'll figure it out together." She placed it back carefully and returned her attention to herself. There was still so much to learn, new skills, new understanding, and new responsibilities. It felt overwhelming at times, but also exciting, like standing at the beginning of a long and meaningful journey. Naruko took a deep breath and smiled. Step by step, she would grow. Step by step, she would learn. And step by step, she would become someone the village could rely on, not just because of strength, but because of kindness, courage, and hope. With that thought in her heart, she walked toward the exit of the tent, ready to see Lady Tsunade and take the next step forward. Dear YouTube family. For now, this is where I pause, but not where the journey ends. Every video, every moment, and every effort shared here has been shaped by your support, your time, and your presence. What started as a simple idea continues to grow into something meaningful because of you. If you enjoyed being part of this experience, I invite you to stay connected. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions are not just actions, they are encouragement, motivation, and the driving force behind what comes next. With each step forward, I aim to bring you better content, stronger stories, and a space where we can continue to grow together. This is not a goodbye, but a moment of gratitude and anticipation for what lies ahead. Thank you for being part of this path, for watching, supporting, and believing in the journey. Until next time. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.